Hope everyone's excited for today's presentation. I have a lot of trepidation about giving it today. The short sale market might be coming back. We'll see. Just one more minute. A few more people join. Yes, we did, Della. Yes, we did.
Sam, is this about an hour-long presentation or more?
Oh, less. No, no, no. I try to keep them to 30 minutes.
Perfect.
All right, everybody, it's 8 o'clock. Let's get started. Short sales. We're seeing more of these. Hopefully not too many more, but we are seeing more of them. Uh, Today we're going to talk about what a short sale is and how to negotiate it. Um, Again, my name is Sam Saad. I am an attorney here in Southwest Florida. And because I am an attorney, we'll start off with my disclaimer that I'm providing you advice, but it's not legal advice. If you want to have an attorney-client relationship, just give me a call and we'll get started on that separately. A little bit about me, of course. I serve on the Naples Area Board of Realtors Legal Resources Committee and the Florida Bar Florida Realtor Joint Drafting Committee, so I know the forms that you use very, very well. Been doing this for over 20 years, and I have a title company for all of your real estate closing needs. You can shoot me an email or a text, and we will get you closed quickly. If we're doing a short sale, we'll negotiate the short sale through my law firm and close it in the title company. It's a pretty seamless process. Today, we're going to talk about short sales. What is a short sale? We're going to talk about the forms that you need to use, and then we're going to talk about how to negotiate them. And I'll say right up front, it's not like it used to be. For those of you, I see a few old names on the participation list today. It's not like it was in the foreclosure days of 2010. The banks are a lot less friendly now, but that's okay. We have a few short sales in my office, and they're going okay. But let's start off with what is a short sale for those of you that are new to the process. A short sale is where you are selling the property for less than you owe the lender, the realtor, and the other lien holders on the property. It's when the seller will net zero out of the sale and the lender takes less than they are owed. And I'll say this, typically the realtor takes a haircut into commission, I take a haircut into legal fees, and we all help a seller who's in a lot of trouble usually get to the closing table and get some of the debt off their books. I'll say this about a short sale. It's a balance sheet transaction. So the seller, and I'll talk about this later more, but the seller is going to net zero from the transaction. What they're going to do is reduce their debt load and their monthly expenses from their mortgage payment. So it's not a what do you call it, an asset transaction. It's a balance sheet transaction to clean up the seller's personal balance sheet. So the forms that you use, NABOR and FARBAR, both provide short sale addenda for the listing contract and the sales contract. So when you're doing your listing presentation and you have done your previous research and you've looked at Realist and you've looked at all the public records and you see that there's a mortgage with probably as a balance more than you're going to be able to sell the property for, you know you're going into a short sale transaction. You're going to need to use addenda for your listing and your purchase agreement. And we're going to go through those forms in detail right now. And then we're going to talk about how to negotiate a short sale, which you're going to be surprised there's not a lot of negotiation anymore, but there is some. So let's talk about the addendum to the listing contract for NABOR for a short sale. This is a NABOR form. It's produced by the Legal Resources Committee. And I'll zoom in on here so you can see it. But you'll notice there's no blanks really to fill in other than the broker or the seller and the property address. And then everybody signs. You put your listing agent, that's you, name here at the bottom. The This defines what a short sale is. It lets the seller know upfront in the process that the purchase price is going to be approved by the lender. The lender is going to have to accept the deficiency and release the seller. It very clearly states that the seller is getting zero from the closing, so they should not expect a check. And I will mention later on there is a possibility of cash for keys on some loan programs. And I will tell you those are sparse now. So they do exist, but it's not like it used to be. Um, this gives the listing agent the authority to market the short sale as a short sale and to talk to the lender. And it requires the seller to provide the lender with timely information. So it's a simple one-page form, and it matches to the NABOR sales contract addendum, which I'm going to zoom in on here so you can see. There's a few more blanks to fill in related to some timelines, but you can really leave. I would actually recommend that you leave the defaults alone in this short sale addendum for the sales contract. The NABOR form's got pretty good deadlines: 45 days to negotiate the short sale approval, 45 days to close after approval of the short sale. Um, this form does clearly state that the lender is going to waive the deficiency judgment, and the FARBAR form does as well. But this is really, really very important because you don't want to go through the short sale approval process and then the seller finds out they still owe all the money to the lender because the lender did not approve a deficiency waiver. This is probably the most important part of the short sale negotiation for the seller, is getting out of that debt. Some sellers, of course, if they have to move for a job, they may accept a deficiency and not have a waiver, but 99% of your short sellers are going to want that deficiency waiver to make sure they don't owe money once the property is closed. Let's zip over to the FARBAR forms. Again, you're looking at a short sale addendum to the exclusive right of sale listing agreement. This matches your listing. 1 second, Kim, I'll answer your question. This matches your listing contract for the FARBAR forms, and it is, again, simply put the seller, the broker, and the property name, have the parties sign, the seller, the broker, and this one has the listing associate sign as well. The NABOR just has you list the name. And again, the seller is authorizing the broker to market the property as a short sale or a pre-foreclosure. You're going to get any document requested by the lender to the lender. The seller's authorized, and this is a tricky part. The seller authorizes the lender's loss mitigation department to be contacted, but the loss mitigation department will not talk to you unless the seller signs the lender's form for that. So you will want to talk to them immediately about getting whatever information, whatever forms the lender has, so that you can talk to the lender as you negotiate the short sale for the seller. And Lisa, Kim, you had a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, I thought in the past we got approval of the amount of a deficiency the lender was going to take before we got a buyer, so that we knew, and we're ready to go with the short sale. No?
I have not seen lenders pre-approve. Actually, that's not true. In the past, and this was, of course, back in the short sale days, lenders did start to do approvals of certain amounts for it, depending on the deficiency. You could talk, like if they were in foreclosure, you could talk to the attorney for the foreclosure, and you could find out what the lender might accept. And that may still be the case. That was a case-by-case basis. In
Okay,
99% of the situations, you needed
contract. Oh,
a
okay.
contract and an offer price, and usually you need a BPO to go with that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Jeff, you were asking here about must we disclose the short sale when listing the property if it's in the MLS? I would say that you should say this is a short sale or this is a pre-foreclosure. I think in MLS you have to check a box for that. Someone may know better in the MLS settings than I do. But in MLS, I'm pretty sure you have to check a box for pre-foreclosure or short sale. So you would put it in there. Then Kim is asking how the buyer broker agreement works with these. Well, if you've got a buyer broker agreement, you would be shopping for properties, and if you found one and came across, and the listing agent said it was a short sale, the buyer would simply sign the addendum to sales contract for the short sale, and if they would have to understand that that's an option, or not. That is a potential, I should say, that they're going to have to go through the short sale process. Okay. Another question from Ryan NABOR MLS does of a short sale, yes or no box. There you go. So it is in the it's an input I'm hearing in the chat. So you'll list that in the MLS. So let's talk about the Rider G. This is the FARBAR short sale addendum to the sales contract. And very similar to the NABOR form, you've got some deadlines, 10 days to make application for the short sale, 90 days for the short sale approval. So that's twice as much as NABOR gives. And then 45 days for the closing date is the same as NABOR. I mentioned this in the short sale sales contract addendums for FARBAR and NABOR, the deposit is due in the typical fashion when the sales contract is signed, but all of the other deadlines are told until short sale approval. So you could end up in an as-is situation, and you will probably be using the as-is sales contract because that's what the lender wants. But in an as-is situation, and then the buyer can walk after the approval because all the other deadlines are told until the short sale is approved. So be very careful there. I don't particularly like that. I wish the buyers would do their inspections up front. I don't think short sales are going to take as long because the approval process with the lenders is not as complicated. I shouldn't say it's not as complicated. It's more streamlined the way that they manage it online now. So, like for those of you that remember back then, the equator system, it's much better now. So this is page 2 of the FARBAR form. Again, this has a little different than NABOR, where the seller either can or cannot accept backup offers depending on the negotiation and the sales agreement. I'll tell you this, lenders want backup offers. So if you get a better offer from the lender's going to want to know that, and you're going to have a duty to tell the lender that. So I would almost in every situation accept that the seller should accept backup offers. And that's an option under the FARBAR agreement. Kim is asking, are lenders making the buyer pay some of the compensation now? I would tell you that I would not expect buyer broker agreements to be honored by short sale lenders. I have not seen that. I've only got a couple in house right now, and we haven't gotten that far yet. But I would be shocked if a lender saw, X% commission on there, half going to one, half going to the other agent, and then they reduce that. I would not be surprised if I started seeing that more often. Let's talk a little bit about negotiating short sales. I have had a couple of conversations with a few realtors recently, and the question is, as a realtor, are you allowed to negotiate short sales? The answer is yes. You are allowed to negotiate short sales, but proceed at your peril. You basically the state is concerned, I should say, with fraud, deception, unfair dealing. We've already had a situation in my office where they were in foreclosure and they tried deeding to an irrevocable trust and doing all these things, and all they did was mess up the title. they still got foreclosed on, and the seller had a deficiency judgment, and the realtor was trying all types of shady things to prevent it, and it didn't work. So be very careful about that. The state is not real happy with realtors who do those things. And the thing they said in an opinion from the Office of Financial Regulation in the state of Florida is that you may negotiate short sales as a realtor, but you only get your commission. You can't take a negotiation fee up front. So be very careful about doing that. Okay, we have a couple of questions. Elaine is saying that the short sale and the lender paid both sides of the compensation. Elaine, that's good news. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you. So deficiency judgments are really what we're trying to avoid in the foreclosure negotiation process. If the lender goes through the whole process and they foreclose, so the property is sold on the courthouse steps for less than what the value of the mortgage, then the seller is going to have a deficiency judgment against them, and they're going to owe money to the lender, and the lender can collect, they can garnish wages, they can do all types of things because it becomes a judgment. It's no longer a mortgage, and that's different rules than a mortgage in terms of collections. So you as the negotiator, or me helping you as the negotiator, or me negotiating, whatever we do, you must get a release of the right to sue for the deficiency. That's very important to your seller. If the lender provides a release, then the seller knows that once the sale is complete, they won't have financial liability to the lender, and the lender understands that they're not going through a long, expensive foreclosure process to maybe get less than what they're owed. So it works out for both parties for the lender to allow the deficiency. But of course, those deficiencies, by the way, they come with conditions. So if you plan to do some non-arm's length transaction things, your seller may end up in trouble anyways. So be very careful about that. Let me just check here. Do we have any questions? Deborah is asking, this is a very important point, Deborah. Will there be a taxable event to the seller if the lender waives the deficiency? The answer to that question, Deborah, is an absolute yes. Cancellation of indebtedness income is taxable at your ordinary income tax rates. So if you have a $60,000 a year job and you're paying income taxes based on that, and then you lose your $300,000 or $400,000 house, and you have a $100,000 deficiency judgment. Now you're going to pay taxes on your income plus your deficiency judgment. That's a different tax bracket. That's a big bill to pay in April for your seller, and they need to be aware of that. So deficiency judgment waivers are great for now and for cash flow, but again, they're not the end all be all because there will be taxation at the end. Okay, so let's talk about arm's length transaction. The short sale must be an arm's length transaction. So the seller cannot be selling to an investor, relative, friend under the guise that they will somehow get the ownership back later. So I wrote investor on my slide here, but an investor could be gobbling up short sales. They just can't have any backdoor deals with the seller. The seller would have to come back and get the property from them later, again, in an arm's length transaction. And it's very, very important because there's an affidavit typically that has to be signed by the parties, including you, the realtor, that it isn't, in fact, an arm's length transaction, that they're unrelated parties, that there's no agreement to come back to the property, that the commissions paid are on the HUD, that there's no other agreements that have not been disclosed, and there's no other higher purchase prices. So again, when you're taking those backups, you have to disclose those high purchase prices because this affidavit is going to be signed by the buyer, the seller, the title company, and the realtor. Questions on the arm's length transaction? This is an important point. I see a lot of people try to fiddle around with this a lot. Okay. So marketing a short sale, it takes a long time to get approval, and be mindful of your contract deadlines. Again, NABOR gives you 45 days to negotiate. FARBAR gives you 90 days to negotiate. I wrote it takes a long time to get approval, but I really don't think you're going to need more than 45 days if you're organized. And this is a big deal. You got to have your paperwork in order. You got to have your tax returns, your W-2s, your hardship letter. All the paperwork that the lender is going to require is going to have to be put together and ready to go to make this happen for the seller. So you need, again, a hardship letter. Why are you in short sale situation? You lost your job. You had a medical event. Something happened that caused you to not be able to afford this mortgage. All the proof that you can't afford it in the form of bank statements, W-2s, and tax returns. It's going to be an as-is sale in almost every case, so the seller won't make repairs. Obviously, they can't afford the short sale. They probably can't afford to fix the property. The buyer is going to be able to walk until approval. And it's not really a negotiation anymore. You're going to submit your BPO, your broker price opinion, and your opinion of value, and the bank is going to go through their process. There may be some back and forth, and if you've got a hot property with multiple offers, there's going to be some more of that. But really, it's not so much a back and forth. I mean, you're dealing with a processor at the lender's company, so it's not as fun, we'll say, as it used to be. The commissions, be prepared to fight for them. Many lenders do have caps, and make sure it's worth the effort. And when I say make sure it's worth the effort, that means you want to get a draft settlement statement put together so you can see. I mean, if you're way under on the loan approval, that's gonna say, maybe this is a really hard short sale. We need to find some other ways to cut costs in this transaction. And you want, one of the things the lender looks at is the realtor commission. So if you're at a high number on your commission, they may reduce that. And you're saying to yourself, well, I just spent 45 days negotiating this short sale. I spent, 200 hours on it. Is that worth the effort? And so be mindful of that. One thing that we have in our office, what does the attorney do to make sure the short sale gets complete? First of all, we represent the seller. This is important for you to understand. So we are working with the seller, and we care about that deficiency judgment up front. That's the most important thing. We do ask for an upfront fee for our service, so it's not on the settlement statement. That makes a little bit easier for the lender to swallow the short sale when they don't see a bunch of attorney's fees on there. And we are going to be working with you, providing updated settlement statements, communicating with the lenders, reviewing transaction documents, and we do all the document drafting. So, and again, a good short sale attorney is going to be your hub for everything. So we'll submit through Equator and do all those things. Teresa, my fees depend on the situation. So I can't say I have a specific fee. If it's a simple short sale where it's not very far off, it's going to be less than a more complicated one. Or if there's a death, then we got to go through probate and all that sort of thing. Kim, you were asking, will the lender provide a compensation agreement or statement? I don't think so. Typically, they just look at the standard forms. Okay, with that, you can unmute yourself and ask questions, or you can put them in the chat. If anyone has any additional questions, and go ahead, Kim.
I don't have any. I was just unmuting myself for fun.
Oh, okay. Come on, you must have questions. Teresa?
Sam, back in the day, the seller's agent was able to negotiate with the bank. We still can, as long as the seller signs something stating that we have their permission, correct?
That's exactly right. The state of Florida originally said that only lawyers and mortgage brokers could negotiate short sales, and then they backed off of that. And said realtors could do it. You just can't get an upfront fee. You got to take your regular commission at closing. That's basically what the Office of Insurance Regulation has said, because a lot of people are asking for upfront negotiation fees, and that's the no-no.
So, Sam, now that commissions are disclosed differently, how do we know, just by requesting that closing statement, that
These ways to figure out if you're in a short sale with all the fees and costs is to just have me do a settlement statement for you, and I can do it in 5 minutes.
Okay.
So you'll know if you're in a short sale situation and how far into the short sale you are right away. So if you talk to a seller and they say, I owe 300,000, I think, and you say, well, I think this house is only worth 250, then we know we got a big short sale ahead of us.
Okay.
Other questions? Kim, you were asking if we would represent the buyer. The title company would do the closing, Kim, but we would be the seller's attorney.
So Sam, with that said about you representing the seller, and they already don't have any money, you look at their situation and you tell them up front, this is what your fees are going to be, and then they can decide to proceed or not, correct?
That's right. And we try to keep the fees low because it's not like it was back in 2010, 11, 9, 10, 11, where you're doing 100 hours on each transaction. It's not as bad. The ones that we've done so far this year have not been that bad. Peggy, what's the average time now between list pendants and foreclosure? 4 to 6 months. Ryan, you're saying you're asking, would you provide the forms needed for a short sale from Form Simplicity? Ryan, they're all in Form Simplicity. Just search for short sale and pick your form set, Ryan. If you like FARBAR, there's only 2 forms. There's the addendum to the listing agreement and the addendum to the sales agreement.
Okay, so just the addendums, okay, because I've had 3 short sale referrals recently, and one's in pre-foreclosure within the next month, and then the other potential short sale, and there's a new one I just got a few days ago. So I just want to make sure that they're coming in pretty quick.
Yeah, they're starting to pick up a little bit. That's why we're here today, and that's what I'm afraid of, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But if you want to reach me offline, I can go over the form. I can go through the form with you, make sure you got it filled out correctly.
That would be great. Yeah, and I'll be using you for this because I know that you're educating me on short sale. I want to make sure my clients are also educated in their responsibilities to make sure that everything's done on their end.
Perfect. I'll happy to help you.
Awesome.
Kim
Thank
is
you.
asking how many types of short sales are how many types of short sales are? There's only one type that I know of, Kim, is where the seller can't afford the mortgage and they're short on their payment after sale. There are, like, FHA has a program, and that's where you can get cash for keys, like up to $3,000 for moving expenses. But I've not experienced that come through yet this year, not in this cycle. Other questions? Anyone? Deborah is asking, do banks have the same time frame limits? Can they keep the listing accurate? Yes, they can. Banks can ask you to extend the listing. They can ask for more offers. The banks are not party to your sales contract, so they are not obligated to follow your timelines. They can do whatever they want. They can ask for whatever they want. You're going to the bank and asking for a favor, basically. So you're in a position where they're going to ask you to do a lot of things that you're like, oh, do I really have to do this? And the answer is yes. Michael, if it's a reverse mortgage, it's not a short sale. You don't short sale reverse mortgages because the reverse mortgage is not due until the death or change of occupancy. And then it actually says right in there, they take what they get. They don't get to negotiate more money. If it's a $300,000 property, and the loan was for 600,000, they get 300,000 on a reverse mortgage. So that's in the loan documents. That's a deal they make up front, and it does not create tax liability. There's no deficiency judgment on a reverse mortgage.
Sam,
Yes, Tina.
what are the short sale prices nowadays that you have been dealing with? What kind of a price range that you have dealt with, or in a price range?
They're in the mid range. I mean, three to 600,000. I think I have two of them in the house right now.
Okay.
So
Okay.
but that does, the short sale comes up when the seller's in trouble and can't afford their mortgage, or they
Right.
make a financial decision. So the one thing we're seeing is the distressed properties were bought 2023, 2024, 2025.
Okay.
They are, mostly 2022, 2023, 2024, because they were at the top of the market. The market has come down a little bit, and
Right.
COVID's over and the panic is over, and people are like, do I really need that house in Florida? And then they realize they owe more than they paid
Uh-huh.
than what they can sell it for. And now they're like, crap, I'm in a short sale.
Yeah.
Yes, Kim, the reverse of COVID, exactly. It's so funny what people do. That's okay. We'll help them. Other questions people have?
Well, I was wondering if you've seen any, is it possible to short sale a property if a person can't afford their home because of the cost of insurance?
I mean, if you can't afford your home and you can't
Can't
make your
afford your
monthly
payment.
payment, you do have to be in default to get a short sale approved. So I didn't say that earlier. I should have said that earlier. You do have to be in default to get a short sale approved. So if the reason you can't afford your mortgage is your taxes and insurance payments, then you may be in a short sale situation and have to sell. You may be in a distressed situation, have to sell for less than you owe.
Do you have to be in a 90-day default?
Different loan products have different rules, but that's typically 2 to 3 months behind is where you start asking for a short sale.
Okay.
Jan, you had a question?
I have a question. So if they're not behind, they're not going to do a short sale?
That's right. Yeah, you've got to be in default.
Okay.
Yeah, most lenders won't do a they assume that you have to not only be in default, you have to be in distress. So if you just don't want to pay and your tax return say you're making $1 million a year and you're just not interested in this property anymore because you're in underwater on it, you could sell it for less than you owe, but you're going to get a deficiency judgment.
What if they're moving they have to move into a senior community and they can't afford both?
Well, that's different. I mean, if it's a medical situation, like if they have a health situation, then that would be a reason. That would be a reason for a short sale. That would be different than they just didn't want to pay.
So should they be deficient or not deficient? I
Well,
mean,
you've got to be deficient. Yes. So you
okay.
would move into the medical facility and not pay your mortgage for a month or two, and you would ask the lender for a short sale.
Okay. Perfect.
And
That's what I
then,
needed to know.
Kim, yeah, the not paying the HOA dues is another problem because now you're in a short sale and a possible foreclosure with your HOA. So you get a double whammy. Other questions people have? All right, it's 8:30. I like to keep these to a half an hour. If you do have additional questions, please reach out to me separately on an email or a text or a call. Thank you all so much for stopping in today. I really appreciate it. I will talk to you all soon. Thank you.